Cleveland.
Our phone operators are standing by with their thumbs up their asses, waiting for you to call. So call.
Call the Alan Cox Show. 216-578-1007 or 1-800-348-1007.
I was reading this article about, it's kind of one of those hair on fire environmental articles, and there's no shortage of those, obviously, about how the Great Lakes have the smallest amount of ice in half a century. And I was like, but that's got to be great news for the Northeast Ohio surfing community, right? People kind of chuckle, but there's a pretty sizable and active year-round surfing community in this part of the country. And you have to think, Gesundheit.
Oh, you could hear that? Oh, my God.
I mean,
they told me to press a button to turn my mic off, and I thought I pressed that button. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I literally, reached, because the board here is digital, so they were like, hey, if you need to, mute your mic or anything, just press this button. Have you been hearing me cough all day?
Yeah, these boards are digital, too. What?
Have you been hearing me cough all day?
We've been hearing you cough.
Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. I've been pressing that button thinking that did it. Hold on. See if this one does it. I'm going to keep talking. Tell me if this does.
That worked.
That cut you off.
That cut me off?
Yeah.
Okay, well, then there's two buttons next to each other. I am so sorry. I thought that
No, there's always somebody
so
sneezing or coughing around. It's fine. I was just letting you know, Gesundheit.
I was sick last week, and the only thing lingering is this cough. So I specifically asked him, hey, is there a way I can, mute myself if I have to cough? And he showed me the wrong button.
Yeah,
so
I was wondering.
Show.
I was wondering how much you were struggle busting it through those farewell shows.
Oh, it was rough.
Because you were clearly under the weather.
You got me sick too. Thank you.
I was not feeling good. But it was also one of those things where I started to feel bad on Tuesday. And it wasn't COVID.
Perfect
I didn't
timing.
Test positive for COVID. But it was one of those things where I was like, I cannot cancel these shows. There is no rescheduling. The first show's already sold out. So we're just going to have to push through it and make it happen. But I'm really, really sorry for that. I thought I was
No, it's okay.
Right, so from now on, I know which button to push. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Join the video.
I'm sorry. This is a mess.
First day.
Hey, hey, Cameron.
Maybe you didn't pop.
Yes. Hey, Alan.
Hi, Cameron. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. Hey, Mary. Hey, Bill.
Yo.
No, back on. I know I was on commercial before that, but back on to the subject about Abercrombie and Fitch stores and stuff like that. We lived in Columbus, and my brother worked at Hollister at Easton Mall, the big one out there.
Okay.
And we're a mixed family. And my oldest brother, he's he's lightest out of all of us. And he ended up getting a job there, and he fit right in. Everybody loved him. He ended up, button-down shirts coming home instead of DMX type things. It was back in 2000, so this was when Backstreet Boys and everything was in sync and all of that. And he would come home with Hollister clothes on and stuff like that. But as soon as they didn't know that he was mixed, but as soon as our family started coming in, me and my brother, we're darker, and they didn't know he was mixed. Man, he wasn't there too much longer after that. Once they found out he was, you're what? You're not what?
See,
okay.
That's more overt. When I worked there, no one said anything to me. They just didn't treat me the same. I couldn't say.
Well, no, they didn't say anything.
I was gonna say they didn't.
Yeah, they didn't say anything. It was just slowly but surely back room, and then
it was just undertones.
It was the parking lot.
See, and that goes to show you, though, just how quickly things can change. Because Abercrombie and Fitch, you're talking 20 years ago, which is not that long ago. Now, people are bending over backwards to go the other way, right?
Right.
They want to show you
Well,
exactly how diverse they are. Huh?
Yeah, this was Hollister.
Well, same company. I mean, same corporate culture. Yeah, same company,
Yeah, it's the
same
same
corporate
company.
culture, same Right.
You know what? You're right. It was Abercrombie and Fitch jeans that they were selling and stuff up there. So yeah.
Abercrombie and Fitch is more high end. Their clothes are a little bit pricier. Hollister is a little more affordable and more beachy, I suppose. But
all right,
I probably didn't pronounce that right. But all right, thank you guys.
Thank you, man. There's Cameron out.
You did better than Dick. Dick from Dayton.
Dick went with Abercrombie and Fitch. Cameron went with Abercrombie and Finch. But Dick wins. The tiebreaker is Browns coach Kevin Stefanski. He will find a name and he will murder it if he has anything to say about it. But, yeah, okay. Thank you, Cameron. I was reading about this. You might have seen the article, but this kid who was trying to fly home from Tampa. Sounds like his dad is in Tampa. It sounds like his mom is in Cleveland. And he got on the wrong plane.
I know I don't know these people, but I know someone that knows these people. And so I heard about this like a week before it happened. Or like a week before.
You heard about it before it happened?
No, I mean, I heard about it, and then like days later it became like a news story. But like as it was happening, I was hearing about it from my friend.
Well, I guess I'm confused because the story is about this terrifying trip that this kid took. He ended up in Puerto Rico instead of in Cleveland.
Puerto Rico.
Right. And
we love Puerto Rico.
And I'm like, oh, this must have been like a 9-year-old kid that the family put on a plane to go between mom and dad. The kid's 16. I mean, is that a terrifying trip? I mean, you ended up where you didn't plan on ending up, but you did get on the wrong plane. And they're kind of putting on Frontier Airlines, or like they just looked at my boarding pass and said, yeah, this is the right thing, but didn't scan it. But your boarding pass tells you where you're going. Well, he said they just asked me if I could show them my boarding pass, so I did, and they told me that I was good to get on the plane, so I got on. They didn't scan the pass or anything, is what he said. Obviously,
that seems illegal.
If they had scanned the pass, it would have come up. But it also said, doesn't it say on your pass? It says where you're going. So, I mean, yeah, he ended up in Puerto Rico, but they were acting like he ended up in like the Democratic Republic of the Congo or something. Like he never, Puerto Rico's not halfway around the world, and it's basically America. I just thought it was really strange because the family's like, we're looking into legal action. For what? What did the people you know say to you? Bill?
They just said that he was, I didn't get like a huge, it was just like, oh, he was on the way and like ended up not paying attention and ended up in Puerto Rico. Like it was like,
yeah, I mean,
it was like,
that sounds like fun actually. I mean, you're trying to get home
to see your mom. It was like a wild story, but it's wasn't, I mean, the news is making it, and the parents were like, what the hell's going on? But
right.
By the time my friend heard about it, it was already pretty much resolved. So it was fine, but
no, listen, if
you're a kid,
yes, if you're the parents, there's probably a moment where you're kind of crapping your pants. But again, he's not 9, he's 16. Call, hey, I'm in Puerto Rico. I don't know anybody here, but you also don't have to go out into the streets and busk like you're in the airport. And you go, hey, I'm supposed to get back to. I guess he was anxious to fly. So maybe he's not an experienced flyer. But
I flew one time before I started flying for stand-up. So, like, if I were 16 and I had never been on a plane at age 16. So if you drop me in the middle of somewhere where I don't know anybody, I'd probably be pretty freaked out.
Yeah, but you're not somewhere where there's like a language barrier or there's someone trying to,
but it's
you know what I'm saying?
Confusing and still can be overwhelming. For some people, yes. Not everybody is amazing as Alan Cox that can just go through life and never make mistakes. Some
it's got
people
nothing to
get
do with
overwhelmed.
It's got nothing to do with amazing. There are boards that tell you you can track every single thing in the process.
But some people aren't good at tracking all that stuff. If they don't know
you don't
what
have
they're
to
doing,
be. It's on your piece of paper. You don't have to do any work.
People can end up in, especially a 16-year-old kid. I could see that happening to somebody, and it's it could be overwhelming. They could have anxiety and be not good at asking for help and stuff like that. People always act like their experience is exactly how everybody else experiences.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying
you're not
is
taking into account how this could have gone through the
saying
situation.
is the logistics of this couldn't be simpler to remedy. You're not dealing with a language barrier. You're not in Rome.
Right, but
you're not.
But
that would be a situation where you go,
you're not
okay.
taking into account how this kid handled the situation. Yes, it seems simple and it doesn't happen that often, but this kid must have gotten overwhelmed or anxious and couldn't handle the situation, and they ended up in Puerto Rico. It's an anomaly. It's not like this happens all the time, but for this kid, it
I don't
went
know
off the
how
rails.
it might happen all the time. I don't know how often
I think
this
we hear
happens.
about stories about it.
Well, we hear this
Yeah.
because the kid was trying to get to Cleveland.
Well, the other thing is that they say like several times this is an outbound flight from Chicago to Cleveland. Like, I feel like they say that in the boarding area. They say that once you're actually on the plane, we're headed toward Washington, Dulles. Flight time is X amount of minutes. Like, you
Probably had
have
his
to-
earbuds in.
I was
I
going to
was gonna
say,
say, you'd have
I
to ignore it.
fully understand somebody not paying attention to the announcements on the plane.
And also,
That I understand.
you hear those announcements, and they can all get garbled together because you don't know which one is for what. I mean, I can see a 16-year-old kid that's not paying super close attention, that's a little bit anxious, messing this up and ending up in Puerto Rico. Or maybe that was their plan all along, and they wanted to end up in Puerto Rico and not Cleveland.
Right.
I mean, is that so wild to
I'm
be
in
like,
San
all right, I
Juan.
can go to Cleveland or I can go to Puerto Rico. It's December. I think I'm going to go for Puerto Rico.
Do they have power on the island?
By this point, I think they do.
You'd like to think so, but
Yeah.
you never know. People think that when there's massive power outages, they're back in about 48 hours. Puerto Rico didn't have power for a long time. His mom said he was texting us, "Mom, I'm scared and I need help." And my number one concern was, is he going to be able to come back? So, no, listen, I get it. I mean, he said that he didn't realize he was on the wrong flight until they made the descent announcement. Which that's not a good time to find that
No,
out.
that's not.
We are making our final descent into San Juan, Puerto Rico. I am on the wrong flight. But yeah, they made it sound like it was again. I guess what jumped out at me was the family was said they were considering they haven't decided if they're going to take legal action against the airline, which offered them a number of vouchers that they declined to accept.
I mean, they might win that, though. If they didn't scan his boarding pass,
Right.
that's a huge deal. Like, that's how people...
True.
Like, if he... I mean, not... that
I've
he
never
did,
seen-
but
I
what if
mean-
he had a weapon or something,
Yeah.
you know? And this guy... if
I've
his
never gotten on a
boarding
plane
pass
with
is-
them not scanning the thing, right?
Never, not once.
Yeah.
There's people who they will hold up the line to make you, make sure your brightness
You need
is
to.
up on
I
your
was gonna say you need to
phone or-
rescan it, and then they're like, "Hold on, let me send it to my email." And then they call their wife because they don't remember their email.
What?
Like there's guys that like if they have it in their email and they're like, "Oh, it's on my phone." They don't remember their password. They're like, "Oh, I gotta call my wife real quick. She remembers my password to my email." And then it's just like a whole process. So then
It's so weird when people get right up to the counter and getting ready to board and they don't have what they need.
happens all the
Come
time.
on.
But you're sitting so long waiting to go on. You think you'd have everything right there on the phone so that you're not dicking around.
Nope, they're on TikTok. They're not paying attention.
You think a business dude who's calling his wife was sitting there on TikTok?
People who do not fly on a regular basis, they're not thinking about that stuff. And yes, they will wait to the very last second, and then they'll be, "Oh, I gotta call my wife. I forgot. I didn't know my password, and I didn't know. I'm used to having a paper ticket.
My wife
Like,
has my password.
My wife has my password. Honey, can you text me the password so I can get into my email?
Yeah, but a lot
so
of
I can
people
get my
still.
ticket?
But a lot of people still have paper passes. They print them out of that kiosk, and then you have it with you, or you got a QR in
But
your
you
phone
also
or whatever.
don't need those anymore, even in TSA. 90% of the time, they just take your ID
Yeah.
and it shows up right away.
Yep.
So that's more of like not like my mom likes to keep her boarding pass. So
I
she makes sure she
screenshot
hasn't
mine.
Printed all
We
the
just
time.
check in. If I don't check in on my phone, we'll check in at the kiosk, and they print it up. I'm like, I don't care. That's fine. But it's still on your phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never walked through, and they go, yeah, just go ahead.
No, yeah.
They always want to see some kind of code or scan or something.
especially for a kid traveling alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they can look at him and be like, not an experienced flyer.
Well, but he's 16. This is what I'm saying. And I don't know anything about the kid. Looks like a fine kid. But he is 16. He's not 9. You know, you have these parents who are like, it's our first. No, I can't get my head around that either. You know, my daughter's going to be 8 in a few weeks. I would never, ever put her on a plane by herself. But some people, they're like, oh, when I was a kid, I took my first flight by myself when I was 9. I was like, holy Christ.
Dude, there's kids in the airport all the time.
Yeah, I've seen
that
that
are
before.
Zooming around with their little Hello Kitty roller bags, and they know
By
exactly
themselves?
where they're going. Yeah.
They have people looking after them, like the people from the airlines. Because I forget what flight I was on. But there was a kid behind me, and like the flight attendants were like, "Hey, so you can have whatever you want to eat, whatever you want to drink. Obviously not alcoholic, but like he was like, I could put on a movie for you. Like they cater to them because they know they're minors traveling. So I think they get a word up beforehand.
Yeah.
Well, that's like even here, seeing little kids on the subway by themselves. Like, that's how they get to school.
Right.
Or,
Yeah.
or like they go from school to their mom's work after school, and they just
Yeah, but if you're a
know
city kid, I
exactly
mean, you're
where to get
taking
off.
buses everywhere.
care. Screw
Yeah,
that.
but still, you know, I mean, I know I'm
You
not
don't have
from
any other
here,
choice.
But yeah, I mean, I'm 34, and I'm like glued to my phone, making sure I get off on the right stop, and this is just how they live.
He's like, can we take number 9?
Seriously.
Well, yeah, because they've been doing it since they were whatever, or going with their parents. Or when you board the plane, the attendant announces where the plane is going and says, "If you've boarded in error." Now, I don't know that I've ever heard that either.
I've heard that. And that's
Have
what I
you?
was saying, is that they make announcements not just in the airport, on the plane. 2 or 3 times they'll say, if you're just now boarding, put your bags here, do this. We're headed to Cleveland. We're doing that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but
That's
this
not
kid
even a
didn't-
kid thing. Everybody's got earbuds in now.
This kid didn't even realize it until he was already on the descent, so it was way too late for that because they messed up.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, he's fine. He's alive and well. And maybe he took in a little bit of local culture. I don't know.
Did you see him getting off at the Puerto Rico airport, which I've been to? It's not a big airport.
Yeah, me too.
And him looking around and be like stopping someone like, is this Cleveland? And they're like, what?
What did they do to the Cleveland Hopkins International Airport?
Am I in the land?
The land. Yeah. Well, good for them. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Alan.
What's up?
Hey, so these people don't have a leg to stand on. So when you get on the aircraft and as you put your seatbelt on, they say, hey, welcome to flight, whatever, destination XYZ. Please pay attention to your safety briefing. And they go through the whole spew of, this is how you put your mask on. This is how they inflate it. This is your exit rows. Put yours on before you put your kids on. So they're going to say that he didn't do as he was told to do into the briefing, because before every briefing is the flight number and destination.
Yeah.
Well, but also somebody texted me that the person who didn't scan the boarding pass, the employee, got fired.
Well, that's what I was
Because they
saying.
don't want that on their, they don't want that part of the situation either.
He should have never made it onto the plane.
Yeah, but they're going to stick to, hey, here's a couple $1,000 in flight vouchers. It's not our fault your kid didn't pay attention. And everybody's just going to go about their day.
Those flight vouchers, that's awesome. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah,
They turned those down.
Well, they're going to
dumb.
get that second settlement offer.
Right, yeah. Well, anyway, okay, thank you, Richard. I appreciate it. Ah, the joys of air travel in these United States. Alan, you know they speak Spanish in Puerto Rico. Yes, but that's not a language barrier. It's an American territory. It's a U.S. territory.
Everyone there speaks
Everybody
English.
speaks English.
They have
That's
our
right.
money. You don't need a passport to go there.
Right. Yeah. You're not, like I said, you're not in the Congo where you're like, I don't know where I am, and that looks delicious. I got a break. I'll have, want to go see some Monsters hockey, Cold Steel on Ice. The Monsters are going to be playing another team. The Rochester Americans. It's this Saturday night. It's a few days away over at the Romo Fijo. So if you're a Monsters hockey fan, we'll hook you up coming back.
It's the Alan Cox Show.
On our free iHeartRadio app and your favorite smart device. Just tell it to play the Alan Cox Show
On iHeartRadio.
from the Mr. Hero
I crave the hero.
Weather Center.